それではお時間になりましたので、国際仏教徒青年交換プログラム2021の3日目の開催させていただきます。私は司会進行と随時通訳を務めさせていただいております大木正順と申します。Now it's time to start IBYE2021 Day3 program. Let me introduce myself as Shojun Ogi. I'm a moderator and an interpreter. さて、今回の IBYE2021 では、基調講演の前に毎日祈りの黙祷の時間を設けております。村山さん、今日の祈りのテーマを教えていただけますでしょうか。So, by the way, we have the time of Buddhist service to pray or do silent prayer every time before the keynote lecture. Reverend Murayama, could you explain about today's aim of Buddhist service?
はい、皆様、本日もこの国際交流イベント IBYE にご参加をいただきまして誠にありがとうございます。この度の IBYE のテーマの一つは SDGs です。仏教の思想やそして哲学がこの SDGs に大変親和性の高いものであることを初日から申し上げてまいりましたが、本日の祈りは最終日として我々人類の未来への希望、これを託して誰一人残さない、そしてグローバルパートナーシップという精神で世界的なムーブメントとなっている持続可能な開発目標 SDGs 達成への祈りを捧げさせていただきたいというふうに考えております。どうぞよろしくお願いを申し上げます。
Thank you very much for participating in IBYE 2020 Day 3. So one of the themes in IBYE 2021 is SDGs. I think we have learned that Buddhist teaching and philosophy and then SDGs have high affinity from the first day of this IBYE program. Today is the last day of IBYE 2021, so I'd like to conduct the Buddhist service to wish the achievement of SDGs with a mind of hope for the future of humankind, and no one will be left behind, and the global partnership with you. It would be grateful if you could join me. Now please close your eyes and join the Buddhist service. それでは皆様、心静かに法要にご参加いただければと思います。
ておじさらはんや信行きたる根相とどたる覚を三階の独尊万で皆仰ぐ三門この霊心に大ごとに謹んで厳然の聖集を集めうやうやしく大仏法殿について第四教主本師釈迦牟尼仏現座道場本尊薬師瑠璃光如来に供養し立て祭り仰いで広大の呪文を恋願い不して用語の霊徳に感ずもっぱら祈るSDGs 達成祈願消防交流世界安穏万民和楽諸縁吉祥ならんこと
本日も祈りの時間にご参加いただき、誠にありがとうございました。Thank you very much for participating in the Buddhist service for play or do silent prayer. 村山さん、世界に向けての SDGs 達成の祈り、ありがとうございました。Reverend Murayama, thank you very much for conducting the Buddhist service for the wish of achievement of SDGs toward the world. それでは早速次のプログラムに移りたいと思います。Now let's move on to the next program, which is today's keynote lectures. ここで、英語圏のご参加の皆様方に、アナウンスメントがございますので、しばしお待ちください。So now the simultaneous interpretation service is available. So please look at the down part of the screen, and you can find the interpretation item or icon, then you can press it, then you can select the English so that the simultaneous interpretation service is available. And also during our presentations, sometimes lecturer speaks English, so that times, and then you can back to the service and then press the normal button, and then you can hear the English as it is. Okay, so that you can adjust the language by yourself. また、こちらは、日本語をお聞きになる方ですが、方へ向けてのアナウンスメントですが、このレクチャーの間ではですね、この基調講演の間に、日本語と英語が行ったり来たりすることもございます。その際ですね、日本語をですね、お聞きになる方はですね、通訳ボタンというものが下にあると思います。こちらをですね、Zoom の方ですね、 Zoom の方、通訳ボタンというものがございますので、そちらを押していただくとですね、日本語、英語と選択できるようになっておりますので、日本語を選択していただければ、英語が日本語で聞こえてまいりますので、こちらの機能をご利用いただければと思います。それでは、確認ですが、トムさん、are you ready?
すいません、ちょっと私が最初に通訳に入って
かしこまりました。
ですけど、すいません、まだちょっと割り振られていなくて、通訳の割り振ってお願いします。
はい。じゃあ、ここからですね、お願いいたします。これから私、日本語をお話をしますので、ここから英語の通訳をお願いできればと思います。Now the simultaneous English interpretation service starts. それではですね、本日の基調講演の前半部分は、フランスに本部のあるプラムビレッジから講師をお招きしております。ダライラマ14世と並び称されているティックナット・ハームの皇帝にあたるチャン・ファップ・カムさんです。それでは村山さん、簡単にご紹介の方いただけますでしょうか。
はい、今、大木さんがおっしゃってくださった通り、ティックナット・ハーム氏はダライラマ法とはい、失礼しました。ちょっと設備が変わりましたので、申し訳ございません。
I'm sorry, we had some facility problems.
大木さんがおっしゃってくださった通り、ティックナット・ハーム氏はダライラマ法と並んで20世紀、21世紀、平和活動にしっかり従事をされ、このキング牧師の推薦によりノーベル平和賞の候補者に上がった、世界を代表する仏教者でございます。そして、社会参画仏教、インゲージド・ブディズムの命名者としても大変有名でいらっしゃいます。そのようなティックナット・ハーム氏が亡命先のフランスを中心に創設した仏教共同体、仏教総員がプラムビリッジでありまして、今ではヨーロッパ最大の寺院とも言われています。全日本仏教青年会、世界仏教徒青年連盟では、これまで長きにわたりプラムビリッジの皆様と一緒に研修会を開いてまいりました。新型コロナウイルスのパンデミックにより、昨年、今年と開催することが叶いませんでしたが、最後に。
It was the first time that calligraphy was shown, displayed in Vietnam. We have thousands of people come, and many of them are young people. These books. We also have a briefing room for those who come to the exhibitions. They can also join the briefing room and to join for drinking tea. It's an exhibition. Our teacher, when he was still healthy, writing calligraphy, giving talk. It is very popular with children. And now there's a picture of Plum Village. We were open for retreat even during the COVID time because in Europe they have tried to achieve herd immunity by vaccinations. So people can already come to Plum Village. Once they are vaccinated, and they still have to wear masks. It is the picture in Magnolia Monastery in Mississippi, celebrating the Vesak Day. This is from Philippines, Thailand, where I am currently stay and practice with. We have a retreat, we have Dharma talks. Many monks are young, monks and nuns are young, monks and nuns. Walk in meditation, walking in the garden. Participating in an online Dharma discussion. Of course, cooking is a part of our responsibility. And this is a video of a ceremony of the time to be together with Thich on the Lunar New Year Eve. This one is Lunar New Year Eve. The next day, on the New Year Day, for the Sangha to greet him, even though he is in a wheelchair, but his spirit, his face, shows that he is very happy and very alert, and he enjoyed the tea, drinking tea, drink your tea. He still enjoy this activity. So in terms of health, Thich is still okay, and we hope that Thich will be with us for a few more years. Now I would like to start the talk. Let me prepare something. Young people for a post-pandemic world is the talk for today. And I want to remove this a little bit on the speaker. Show, okay, this okay. Young people for a post-pandemic world. And we will address the following topics. What the post-pandemic world look like after the COVID-19 is over. There are economic aspects, there are aspects of how to recover, how to make a living. But I would like to stress on what we can do with ourselves. More with how we feel, how we will behave, and how we can learn from this pandemic. First, I think after the pandemic, we have a feeling of humbleness. We humans think we have a lot of power. We went to the moon, we explored Mars, we found out things about the universe. We exploit the earth. But we are making ourselves, we feel those things as nothing. When just a small virus come in and make our life miserable for the last 2 years. So we felt humble. When we play with nature, humans is no match. Because human went against nature. We exploit things. We destroyed our living environment. And nature had to find a way to alarm us and to say that it's enough. It is enough. Global warming, we have seen the melting of the ice in Greenland, in the South and the North Pole. We see hurricanes, we see fire, wildfire, forest fire. And that's just the nature way of saying, these are the things that the human have done to the Mother Earth. And it is human who now have to bear the cost. So a feeling of humbleness that we have to receive, we have to know that we are part of environment. We are the environment. It's not human versus the environment. We are human is the environment itself. Feeling that, realizing that we need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of others. We need to take care of the planet Earth. We talk about resilience, the capacity to bounce back during difficult time. But the resilience has to be based on wisdom and compassion. Not to say that I will conquer the world. We conquer the world and the price has been paid. And much more would happen if we do not learn to stop. It has to be based on wisdom and compassion, not on conquering, doing everything for what we call the human race. We need to deal with the psychological effect of the pandemic, fear, anxiety, and despair. In Vietnam, now there's, for the past month or so, thousands of cases have happened. Her whole family died because of the disease. Fear, anxiety, and despair occupy our mind. The whole Ho Chi Minh City, the backbone of the Vietnam's economy, is closed, is locked down. But we have to deal with fear, with anxiety, and despair based on no fear, peace, and hope. We need to have hope. We need to have peace. We need to have no fear. And we also realize that everything, the things that the Buddha had taught, the three characteristics of phenomena, impermanence, selflessness, and non-duality, it appears daily in our activities. And if we take care, we realize these three characteristics, we can overcome the fear and the anxiety and the despair. Let us begin with some guided meditation. In order to deal with this fear, anxiety, and despair, we need to take root in ourselves. I would like to invite everybody to take a deep breath when we breathe in and a slow breath when we breathe out. Breathing in, I know that I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know that I'm breathing out. In, out. Please breathe in 3 breaths after I say the short word. Breathing in a deep breath. Breathing out a slow breath. Deep, slow. Breathing in, I calm myself. Breathing out, I feel at ease. Calm, ease. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing out, I release my tension. Breathing in, I'm aware of this present moment. Breathing out, I am aware that this is a wonderful moment. Present moment, wonderful moment. Even in this worst of time, we still have our breath. We still be able to breathe in and breathe out. And with this breath, we can practice to make ourselves calm, to make ourselves feel at ease. We can still smile and release our frustration. What else can we do? We need to take care of ourselves first. In order to face the world, first, we need to get in touch with ourselves, to take care of ourselves. And this simple exercise, meditation exercise, can be used anytime during our day. When we feel anxious, worried, take a few deep breaths. I would like to play this song for you so that it can have a very relaxing effect.
In, out, deep, slow,
Out, breathe in.
calm, ease, smile, release, breath moment. In, out, deep, slow, calm, ease, smile, release, present moment, wonderful moment.
For this talk, you can forget everything that I said today, but please, you need only to remember this. To go back to yourself and take a few deep breaths. For each breath, out. Recite silently. In, out, deep, slow, calm, ease, smile, release. Present moment, wonderful moment. This is what the young people need to do post-pandemic world. We need to get in touch with ourselves, to get in touch with our feelings, with our body, with our emotions, with our cognitions, to figure out what needs to be done. And in order to do that, we need first to be calm. We feel humble. We have relatives who passed away because of the COVID-19. And that was mentioned in the Buddha's teachings. The Buddha taught about the 5 remembrances, a right view about health, old age, birth, and death. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. My actions are the ground upon which I stand. I have friends, relatives who passed away because of the COVID-19. My parents are 89, 90 years old, and I was worried they got the infections. But luckily, they are still healthy. We have monks and nuns, hundreds of them die in Vietnam because of the COVID-19. So even monks and nuns are not exempt from this law. So we feel humbleness. We feel humble. And the thing is this, we need, given this limited time that we are on this world, what can we do? We have to be responsible for our actions. Whatever we do, we will carry them with us, lifetime after lifetime. And what we do is that we need to protect, we need the environment we need to live the earth in a good shape for the next generations. How do we do that? People have talked a lot. People already gave up. Now the earth already 1 degree hotter. And it was said that if the earth gets hot, 1.5 Celsius degree, disaster come. And now we are already 1 degree hotter. Only half a degree more disastrous effect, consequence will come. We heard about sustainable development, and many countries have tried to do that. We heard about sufficient economic philosophy in Thailand, gross national happiness in Bhutan, sustainable development goals of the United Nations, and slow movement in the West. What these try to do are to say material things do not necessarily bring us happiness. We need to know that we have enough. We have enough to be happy. We have enough to survive. But why? Why do we want more? The Buddha have taught us in the second mindfulness training, true happiness. Aware of the suffering caused by exploitation, social injustice, stealing and oppressions. I am committed to practicing generosity in my thinking, speaking, and acting. I am determined not to steal and not to possess anything that should belong to others. And I will share my time, energy, and material resources with those who are in need. This is true happiness. We need to share with others. I will practice looking deeply to see that the happiness and suffering of others are not separate from my own happiness and suffering. That true happiness is not possible without understanding and compassion. And that running after wealth, fame, power, and sensual pleasure can bring much suffering and despair. This is in line with SDG gross national happiness, love movements, sufficient development goal, SDGs. All of them have to be based on true happiness. We need to know that we have enough. I am aware that happiness depends on my mental attitude and not on external conditions, and that I can live happily in the present moment simply by remembering that I already have more than enough conditions to be happy. I am committed to practicing right livelihood so that I can help reduce the suffering of living beings on Earth and reverse the process of climate change. We talk about countries, United States, China, India, polluting because of the needs for energies. But those needs of energy come from individual ourselves. So these things can still be possible by individual actions. True happiness, the second mindfulness training, is a guideline for us to not to chase after material things. We need the cause of the industrial revolutions that we are looking for many things, looking for material resources. It's only happened during the last 200 years that much damage to the environment were made. Only about 200 years. And this one is what happened. An analysis of economist John Maynard Keynes made in 1930, which is about 100 years ago. He said that by this time, 2020, 2030, the productions of goods are so much already that we don't need to work hard. We only need to work about 13 hours a week. At this time, 15 hours a week. Because we already have enough productions of goods. Now everything we have everything. But look at how many people, hours that we work a week today. 40 hours or more. Why? Because people compete. People say that I am better than others people. And the way that I want to show that I'm better than other people is by showing that I have more. So it has root in our thinking because we look for happiness outside of ourselves. The second mindfulness training reply and have a solution is a solution to this dilemma. Many analysis and it come to this. It come to a very simple fact that people run after wealth, fame, sexual, too much sleep, too much food. It's these 5 sensual desires that make us live and act the way we are. And we forget that we are part of the nature and we depend on nature to survive. We talk about where are our energies come from. It's come from the sun. It's come from the water. It come from the minerals. It come from the trees. And we pollute the water source. We exploit all the minerals and we deforest. We destroy billions of trees. Without the trees, without the minerals, without the water, we will have no oxygen to breathe. We will have no glucose as source of energy for us. And we say we are not the environment. We come out and we destroy the environment. When we destroy the environment, we are destroying ourselves. Very simple fact. We depend on others' things, other non-human things to survive. We are still so ignorant about this fact. Humans is a different race. We say to ourselves. And this one is what the Buddha have pointed out in the Diamond Sutra. There is the wrong perceptions, wrong thinking that there's a self, there's a human being, there is a living being, the non-human being, they have a lifespan. We are caught on this idea. We think that human beings is separate from other non-human beings. We think the life of species is only 100 years. 100 years, so we have to enjoy. We have to do our best to enjoy our life, regardless of what happened after. Wrong perceptions. The Buddha said, in a place where there is something that can be distinguished by sight, in that place there is deceptions. So if we see there is human, we are fooling ourselves. Because we separate human from non-humans, we separate ourselves from the trees, from the minerals, from the waters, and then we destroy all the things, no human things, which in effect destroying ourselves. Water now is a very rare resources. Even in the United States, the lakes, the snow do not provide enough water, even in the United States. Rich country, and they still cannot have enough water. And we talk about exploiting the water resources. So humans have to find a way how to preserve these resources. No more snow on the Alps. The snow fall down, and then the temperature is warm. It becomes water and go down the stream. No more sources of water during autumn. I would like to invite all of us to listen to a song to say that we are the nature itself. This song, some of us who are with Plum Village, they already know this song.
I am a cloud, I am the blue sky, I am a bird, spreading out his wings. I am a flower, I am the sunshine, I am the earth, receiving a seed. And I am free when my heart is open. Yes, I am free when my mind is clear. Oh dear brother, oh dear sister. My mind is clear. Oh dear brother, oh dear sister, let's walk together mindfully.
If only when we realize that we are the part of nature ourselves, we are nature ourselves. We are the trees, we are the bird, we are the sunshine, then we can take actions to save the environment. If we see ourselves as a separate self, as a separate entity from the environment, there's no way out. So we talk about impermanence of characteristics of life. You see garbage, you see rose, fresh can become garbage in 2 weeks. Young people become old. That's how life is. We forget to live our life like that. We live our life that things are not changing. We're always young. Things are always good. We are caught in the duality point of view. We discriminate between weeds and flowers. We do not know that no mud, no lotus. And something that we call the garbage can be useful in many ways, such as the dandelions. When we want to plant only roses, we consider dandelions as weeds. But dandelion itself is a very rare, very good resources, very good herbs. So these discriminations can help and make us destroy our life. We want to eat pork, so we destroy the forest, the poultry industry. And when we destroy the forest, our air, our water, also destroyed. We know that everything depends on other to survive, to manifest, just like the light. White light is made up of other color light. So we cannot exist. We cannot exist without other species. So what can we do? Young people. I have seen that the videos, the images that show activity of young people that the WYBF have done. Many young people with many young associations have shown the young people how to live in this confusing time. But I want to share something about what the Plumless movement have done, Plumless have contributed in terms of this young people movement. You heard about the Wake Up movement. Wake Up is an active global community of young people, aged 18 to 35, and inspired by Thich. And we want to have our world, which is overloaded with intolerance, discrimination, craving, anger, and despair. We want to live in such a way that our planet Earth can survive for a long time. Practicing mindfulness, concentration, and insight enable us to cultivate tolerance, non-discrimination, understanding, and compassion in ourselves and in the world. And our practice, we follow the 5 mindfulness trainings. This one is a description from the page of Wake Up. So it is the 5 mindfulness training, the 5 precepts that Thich have adapted, and to make it fit, adapted to this time as a guideline for the Wake Up movements. And you see the picture of the meditation flash mob in Japan that we see here. We had this Wake Up movement in Japan. And it's just like any other young movements, Buddhist movements. We want to connect to each other. We want to save the earth. We want to take care of ourselves. So this one is a part of the movement that can go along with other activities that other Buddhist organizations have done. And there are many pictures of this one already, so you can search on the web. But I would like to share the song of this Wake Up movement. You see what it is. And the key things of how to help us to deal with consumption, which is a major difficulty now for the young people. The 5 mindfulness training. How do young people deal with the need, with the urge of consuming culture in the world nowadays? The 5th mindfulness training, nourishment and healing. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumptions. I am committed to cultivating good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society. By practice mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will practice looking deeply into how I consume the 4 kinds of nutriments. I am determined not to gamble or to use alcohol, drugs, or any other products which contain toxins, so that certain websites, electronic games, TV programs, films, magazine, we don't want to get in touch with negative things. We want to consume positive things, the things that can help us heal and nourish us. I will practice coming back to the present moment to be in touch with the refreshing, healing, and nourishing elements in me and around me. Not letting regret and sorrow drag me back into the past, not letting anxiety, fear, or craving pull me out of the present moment. And how do we do that? We practice the meditation that we did in the beginning of the talk. In, out, deep, slow, calm, ease, smile, release. That is the key for us to get back to ourselves. Not to cover up ourselves in loneliness, in anxiety. So there's the meaning is there. The only thing is we need to practice. Here is some pictures, some activity of the wake-up movement that this song was recorded during a trip that our brother and sister made in about 10 years ago in the United States. And we talk about this movement.
All right, I think we're ready. This is Carmelo. He came with me from Michigan. Yeah, he's originally from Haiti, and he's one of my favorite drummers and human beings. And this is Vera, violin from Berlin. All right, planting seeds. We're planting seeds for new communities. It's time to wake up, to be the change in the world we want to see. It's time to open up, redefine society. Don't give up, planting seeds for new community. Please wake up, 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 wake She dreamed bigger, she dreamed brighter. She had the energy of hope to guide her. And when she stopped to look inside her, she listened to her inner voice and said, I can clearly see my choice to live in this new way, to take time to meditate and to pray. So this is a new day, and there is so much more that I need to say. So I'll keep walking on the earth in this sacred way. In this sacred way. We're planting seeds for new.
And that is the conclusion of my talk. We can have many activities for the young people, but I think the most essential thing is to provide young people a way to go back to take care of themselves, to get in touch with themselves, to take care of their feelings, of their emotions. If they cannot save themselves, how can they save the world? That is the first requirement. Young people have to go back to themselves, to take care of themselves, so that they can take care of the world. I would like to stop the sharing now, and we can do the closing. How do you do this? Stop sharing.
All right, I think we're ready. This is Carmelo. He
Okay, okay.
came with me from Michigan.
Now I come back to this, and that will conclude my sharing for today. I hope that you have a good, successful conference, and we will work together on the path. And many of, I hope that some of the participants today already know about this wake-up movement, have got into contact with Plum Village, and we will continue to work together on how to help the young people. And the young people is the force, is the one that can make a difference right now, because it is their future. We adults, the adults need to help, but it is the young people who have a very strong voice and responsibility and a future of themselves to take care of. So thank you, Venerable Mariama, for inviting us to join in this conference. And I would like to end now. You will share something before we end this talk.
Hi. はい、よろしいでしょうか。
May I speak then?
それでは、この度はファプカムさん、本当に
Venerable
頂戴いたしま
Phap
して、
Kham,
誠に
thank you
あ
for
りが
your
とうございます。
wonderful talk. We deeply appreciate it.
に合わせ SDGs やポストパンデミックと
If we can work on the SDGs and deal with a post-pandemic situation with mindfulness, it can make our movement more meaningful. You gave a talk also based on scientific evidence, which was very convincing. I believe the viewers would note that such mindfulness experiences are provided on a regular basis at the Plum Village community. You can look into it and please try to participate in their activities if possible.
高野さん、皆さんありがとうございました。ここで一つお詫びがございます。ここでですね。
So that will conclude this lecture.
都合により英語だけの配信となりましたことを心よりお詫び申し上げます。
We're sorry that there were some sound quality issues today.
Okay. それではですね、いよいよ本日のメインプログラムの2つ目に入りたいと思います。
We will move on to the second
藤田一生
keynote
先
lecture
生
for
による
today.
基調講演と国際連の入門体験となり
Issho
ます。
Fujita
し
will
か
be
し、
giving a lecture
その
and
前に一旦
helping
10
us to
分間の
experience
休憩
some
を取
meditation.
らせていただこうと
Before
思い
that, we
ま
would
す。
like to take a 10-minute intermission.
Thank you. We see you later.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much, Brother Phap Kham. Very good lecture, and I
Phap Kham
moved
先生、素晴らしいご講演をありがと
very
うござい
well.
ました。
Thank you very much.
庄淳さん、僕を画面共有できるようにオフにしてもらえますか。
承知しました。お待ちください。
お願いします。皆さん、ちゃんとあれですね。
藤田先生、聞こえますか。
はい。
今画面共有ができるようになったと思いますが、ご確認お願いいたします。
はい。チェックします。
はい。大丈夫ですね。
そうですか。はい。
はい、見えてます。
はい。
もう数分ございます。すみません。よろしくお願いします。
多分、さっきのは、僕がそうです。
それでは、皆様、お戻りでしょうか。
Have you come back, everyone?
それではですね、後半のレクチャーの方にですね、
We would
移りたいと
like
思い
to
ます。
move on to the
そ
second
れでは、
lecture
村山
for
さん、ご
today.
紹介の方よろしくお願いいたします。
Mr. Murayama, could you please introduce our speaker?
はい。それでは
Okay.
ただいまより藤田一生先生か
I would
ら
like
の
to
ご講義を頂戴したいかと思います。
We would like to listen to a lecture by
藤田先
Reverend
生
Issho
は曹
Fujita.
洞宗の僧侶でいらっ
Reverend
しゃいます。
Fujita is a priest of
私
the
も同じ曹
Soto
洞宗
Zen
として
school.
ご縁を頂戴していま
I've
す。
also known him
2018
through
年
my
まで
connection with the
サ
Soto
ンフランシス
school.
コにある曹洞宗
Until
国際センターの所
1987,
長をお務めになられて
he
いらっ
was
しゃ
the
いまし
head
た。
of
私
the
もセンター
Zen
にご訪問さ
Center
せていただい
in the
たことを
United
懐
States
か
in
しく覚えていま
Massachusetts.
す。
I remember the times I visited him
ティク
in
ナ
the
タハン
United
氏
States.
やマインドフルネスと
He
深く関わりを
has
持
been
たれてい
involved
らっ
with
しゃいま
Reverend
して、
Thich Nhat Hanh and with the
国際的
mindfulness
に善
movement
を
for a
広
long
める
time
第一人者
and
の一
has
人
been
と
a
して、
leading figure in promoting
本日
Zen
は
overseas.
SDGs という観
He'll
点
be
も踏まえながらお
looking
話を
at
頂戴いたし
the
ます。
concept of SDGs as he gives his Dharma talk today.
それでは先生どうぞよ
So
ろ
we'd
し
like
く
to
お願
ask
いを申し上げま
Reverend
す。
Fujita to get started.
Hello, everyone. I'm very glad to be here with you. My name is Issho Fujita. 皆さん、こんにちは。こんばんはやおはようございますの方がいる
Good
かもしれ
morning,
ま
good
せんが、
afternoon, good evening. I am Fujita Issho.
大乗仏教では、
In Mahayana Buddhism,
一人一人は
each one of us
としての使命、ミッションを
have
持って
a mission as a bodhisattva when we come to this world, it is said.
で、菩薩の生き方は、
The way of life of the bodhisattva
働くのは今、この現在ですね。
is
ですが、
to address the problems that the world is facing. But bodhisattvas also
学びをします。
conduct penance for the mistakes of the past. It could be also described as repentance, but I think deep reflection might be the best word to explain this word Sangye. We reflect upon whether we have done the best that we could have as a bodhisattva and engage in deep reflection for the past. And we use that as an energy to fulfill our mission as bodhisattvas in the present world. And in the direction of the future, we make an aspirations or vows. This is different from expression of desires, but it's an aspiration or a wish. We wish that we vow to save all sentient beings. These are known as the universal vows of the Bodhisattva. Each of us may have vows as priests or nuns, or we may have vows as academics, or we might have a vow as mother or a father. But a vow or an aspiration is a commitment that we make towards the future as a bodhisattva. Of course, when we make a vow on how we will live in the future and direct our life towards the future, the SDGs present themselves as an important topic. This is what I'd like to talk about today. Are you able to hear my voice? Please allow me to share my slides then. The title for my talk today is a tentative title, Sustainable Lifestyle from the Heart. When we speak of the heart, we're not thinking is the same thing as mind. We're talking the feeling, things that come from our heart rather than our brain. A sustainable lifestyle that comes from our deepest feelings and intuitions. Here are the familiar Sustainable Development Goals expressed as a series of logos. I would like to think about this topic and discuss it with young Buddhists. It's a wonderful opportunity, I think. The Venerable Phap Kham said, the young people are our future and our hope. And that is really true. The SDGs are aiming for the year 2030. We have 9 years left to achieve them. We need to think how well the progress is being made towards the goals. Actually, these goals are not easy goals to achieve. But right now, we have to make efforts to achieve the SDGs. Otherwise, we won't have a bright future ahead. Especially we who have experienced the coronavirus pandemic are becoming more aware of the urgency of achieving the SDGs, I think. As you know, the SDGs consist of 17 goals, as I just showed you. Each of the goals have related targets that add up to 169 targets, and there are 232 indicators for it. These cover all of the issues of the world's society, economy, and environment. Each of the goals and targets and indices are related to the concept of interbeing or interdependent arising. These goals are inseparable from each other. It's not like they can be achieved by working on just one at a time. The 17 goals and the 169 targets and 232 indicators are organically interconnected to each other and should be understood in that way. This is a challenge for us and a goal for the future, providing a direction for humanity. It is very well thought out. Through the long deliberations of many experts, they work their best to identify the core problems that our world faces. On the other hand, we need to think why we have ended up in such a crisis situation. We need to deeply reflect upon the mistakes of the past, I believe. So the SDGs are not only future-oriented, but they also help us to become aware of what we as humans have done in the past up to now, and to repent or deeply reflect upon what we have done so far. As bodhisattvas, we need repentance towards the past. The SDGs could provide a very good basis for our repentance or reflection on the past. The 17 goals, 160 targets, and
しっかりこれを学ぶ必要があるというふうに思っています。どういう現状になっているのか、そもそも何がこういう破局的な状況、カタストロフですね、を招いたのか、そしてそれはどうやったら解決の方向に動き出すのかということを一人一人が真剣に、自分なりの、知識と、能力をもとにして考えていかなければいけないと。誰もが無関係ではいられない。
directly relevant to
そ
ourselves.
して、我々はこれに、取り組むべきではないかというふうに考えています。で我々仏教徒としてはですね、なぜこういうふうになったのかということを、考える場合に、仏典の中で最も古いアーリエスト・スッタと言われているスッタニパータ、今これ私個人的に勉強しているんですが、この中でもこのスッタニパータの中でも一番古いと言われている第4章ですね、8つの四苦の章というのがあります。これはアッタカバッカという名前で呼ばれているものですね。でこのアッタカバッカの最初が欲望の章、欲望のお経っていうふうに言われてるんですね。英語で言うと Discourse on Desire ということになると思いますが、ここにこういうこれは6つの短い言葉がブッダの言葉が書かれていますが、その中にこういう言葉があります。いろんな訳があるんですけれども、その一つの訳は、諸々の欲望を避ける人は蛇の頭を足で踏むのを避けるように、その人は世間においてよく気づき、この執着を乗り越えていきますというふうに書いてあります。そこに英語訳がありますが、ここにマインドフルというのが出てきているんですね。今何が起きているか、自分の中に蛇のような、毒を持ったですね、欲望というものが、立ち上がってきて自分を操ろうとしているということによく気がついているというような意味合いで、ここでマインドフルというのが使われているんですね。で、その蛇の頭を踏まないように、このサイドステップする、気をつけるというのがブッダの言葉として残されているんですね。ですが我々は多分これまでのところ、この蛇の頭を踏み続けて、その毒の、影響をずっと受けてきているというふうに、言ってもいいのではないかと思いますね。それが SDGs 全人類が、直面している問題状況を作り出している一つの、原因になっているのではないか。で、ブッダはこの欲望の充足を、最優先にして はい、何ですか？聞こえませんか？白川さん、何でしょう？
すいません、失礼いたします。今ですね、同時通訳の方の接続がですね、不安定になっておりまして、はい、ちょっと、少しお待ちいただければなというふうに思います。すぐ復旧させます。いえ、ですね、この5分ぐらいです。
ああ、そうですか。
すみません、失礼いたしました。
なんか画像で慌ててるので何か起きてるかと思います。
申し訳ありません。ちょっと今、電話かけますので。
なんなら僕が英語で喋りましょうか。
そうですね。先ほどそうおっしゃってましたね。
はい。
すみません、ちょっと、this is an announcement for the English speakers. Sorry about that. We are facing like the technical internet trouble, but the interpretation, simul interpretation is available soon. So please wait a few more minutes.
いや、それまでじゃあ、英語でしゃべりますか？自分で自分翻訳通訳しましょうか？どこから始めればいいですか
？5分前くらいなんですけども、先生、すみません。今復旧しました。復旧しました、先生。大丈夫です。
はい。どこから始めようかな。じゃあ、5 minutes before?
ワンページバックです。
どの辺から行きましょうか？
この辺りの、ですね。
この辺からいいですか？
スッパニパータですね。スッパニパータの
そうですね。スッパニパータからです。はい。
で、私は今仏典のブディスクリプチャーの中で最も古いearliest
One of the oldest Buddhist scriptures, Sutta Nipata, is a subject of my studies nowadays. And there's one of the oldest sections in the Sutta Nipata called the Attakavagga, or the 8 verses. And the first section is the teaching on desire. There are 8 short words here, such as shown here. Sidestepping sensual desire, as one would the head of a snake with one's foot, is the mindful one who, while in this way, is beyond craving. Here is in the English translation.
Sidestepping desire っていうのが、面白い表現だなと思います。
Sidestepping desire is an interesting expression. Desire is like a poisonous snake. It's a parable or analogy used by the Buddha. How real do you realize the danger of desire, that it is like a poisonous snake? As I mentioned, we need to reflect on how our life has been unsustainable for a long time in order to understand the SDGs. We need to become aware and reflect deeply upon our mistakes in the past. One of the aspects of this is to learn to realize we failed in sidestepping sensual desires. The SDGs have become necessary now because we created the causes for it. This is a Buddhist comment on the situation that we created for ourselves, I think. The Buddha indicated a direction to change the situation. He pointed out that satisfying desires does not achieve true happiness. In the Attakavagga, in the teachings on desire, he made that very clear. The Buddha taught that we can achieve happiness by learning to be satisfied with what we have and having true peace of mind, and ultimately nirvana. We need to make a shift in direction. All of our problems up to now came from a mistaken idea that satisfying desires would make us happy. But the Buddha pointed out that true happiness can only be found in inner peace or in nirvana. So the goal of all Buddhist teachings and practice is to achieve that inner peace or nirvana. However, the people who really understand that and actually practice Dharma up to now have been a very small minority, unfortunately. And even those people have been pursuing Dharma mainly from the private dimension. That is another point we need to reflect upon. As a result, we're in a situation where we have to, aim for the SDGs to turn around. We need to make a transition from the pursuit of desire towards the search for peace. We need to move from a mistaken understanding of happiness to a more true understanding of happiness, not only on the individual level, but on the global level of humanity. When we speak of SDGs, one important keyword is leaving nobody behind. This could be reworded as follows. Basically, none of us are off the hook. We all have responsibility to work for the SDGs. We cannot go on, pursuing to fulfill our desires because we think someone else will solve the problem. All people have to be involved in making the paradigm shift. The transition needs to be carried out by all of us. We cannot be waiting for someone to solve the problems for us. We need to review our lifestyles at a fundamental level and reform our lifestyles. We need to take on the issues of the world as our own personal problem actively. And we need to support each other in doing this transition. We need communities where we can support each other in making this turnaround. Reverend Murayama mentioned that there are a number of keywords for this conference. Post-COVID, paradigm shift, and the Anthropocene were mentioned as the keywords. These are all pointing out that we're living in an unprecedented age now. We need to be aware that we're living in the sort of age that never occurred before. We need a sense of crisis and understand there isn't much time left to solve our problems. We need a sense of feeling that the dead end is near. This feeling may lead to a sense of despair, or as though we are caught and don't know where to go. Reverend Phap Kham also mentioned that we may feel like we're in a dead end, but we need to look deeply at our sense of despair and our sense of being trapped. When I was in the United States, I once, a teacher of ecology in high school came to talk to me. He asked me how he should explain about the ecological crisis to his students using real data about the planet. He said the more he gives these numbers and facts to the students, the more the students become depressed and feel hopeless. And he asked me what he can do for his students. We need to look directly at what is happening now. And when we do look at the present situation, it's not surprising that we might feel depressed or somewhat desperate. The COVID pandemic has made this even clearer for us, I think. The important thing, I explained to that teacher that I face the same challenge. I said, when I study about ecology, I sometimes feel despair. And sometimes I feel like there is as though there's no clear way out of the situation. I suggested that the students should experience this sense of despair or having nowhere to go and try to find a new energy through that process of internal reflection. In Buddhism, the teaching of the Four Noble Truths is the starting point. We have to start out by looking at the reality and understand the cause of suffering. The tendency is either to over exaggerate or minimize the problems in the world. But we shouldn't do that. We should look directly at the problems and try to understand them as deeply as possible. That is very fundamental and very important. A capability to do that is known as negative capability. We're living in an unprecedented age. We need to face that fact. We need the strength to be able to look directly at this unprecedented situation. Buddhist practice helps us to cultivate the ability for negative awareness. There's a poet, John Keats, who coined this word of when we are looking at the unknown, if we panic and try to use theory or logic or theoretical answers, we cannot really understand the solution. We mustn't easily lead for simple answers. We need to look at the negative reality as it is. At that time, we achieve this negative capability.
で、そのネガティブケーパビリティに、を通してですね、
Through such negative capability, we can realize how we need to act. If we are following fixed dogma, we will not be able to go the right direction. We need to act based on a deep understanding of what is happening and create our action based on a clear understanding. That is a very important teaching of Buddhism. This is not really philosophy or method, but it's really basically ethics. Buddhism is all about how we should act. The basics for Buddhist ethics are care in English. Care can be described as being careful and being caring. There are two aspects to care. Careful means mindfulness or can be related to wisdom. Caring means compassion or, loving kindness to others. These are both keywords for us. We need to think about our speech and our action and our thoughts on the basis of the principle, and think if our actions, thoughts, and words are really based on the principle of care or not. Are we truly mindful? Are we truly compassionate? Are our actions and thoughts based on wisdom and compassion? We always need to think about that.
で、この辺は皆さんご存知なので、
This is a familiar teaching, so I won't go into depth, but in his first sermon, Shakyamuni taught about the middle way and said that it is the eightfold right noble path. And 8 words were given as keywords there. These provide guidelines for our overall life. Before all of the items, it uses the term samma or right. When we think about the eightfold noble path in the present day, samma could be translated as right or view or correct view or wise view. When we think of it in the relationship to SDGs, we could say samma means sustainability. Sustainability needs to be an aspect of the rightness of the eightfold noble path. When we think about it's necessary to think of the right action from the perspective of sustainability. In Mahayana Buddhism, we have the 6 perfections or 6 paramitas: generosity, morality, patience, diligence, one-pointed concentration, and wisdom. These can be thought in relation to SDGs. When we're making efforts towards the SDGs, these are basic principles for our attitude in pursuing the SDGs, you could say. And the Buddha's final teaching was the 8 realizations of the great master. There are 8 points here. It starts with reducing desire and not playing around with theories and opinions as the final teaching. These are the 8 aspects of an enlightened person that he taught in his final sermon. When we look at that from the perspective of the SDGs, in our daily lives, implementing these 8 qualities will enable us on an individual level and a collective level to achieve the SDGs and to make a turnaround. It points out the details of what we need to do. In early Buddhism, as well as Mahayana Buddhism, there were many teachings of ethics that are very compatible to the SDGs. However, we mustn't stop just there. We need to go one step further. Be it SDGs or be it Buddhist ethics, what attitude we work on them is very important. The person's initiative is extremely important. As I mentioned, we need to avoid harmful desire the way we would avoid the head of a serpent. In the past, we thought that desire was the source of happiness. And we made efforts thinking accumulating goods would make us happy. But we became very self-centered and egotistic as a result. We wanted to satisfy our desires. And the desires we wanted to fulfill were our own desires rather than the desires of others. First of all, we wanted to satisfy our desires. The more we pursued that, the more we became self-centered. And that we took a self-centered approach in all of our actions and life. I think of that as the result of a separated self or separated ego. It's not that such an ego actually exists, but it's just a type of consciousness. The sense of separated self has run amok. It's become like a car without brakes. We have pursued our self-satisfaction and have been running amok. And that has become the life of the ordinary human being, or Bombu in Buddhism. If we pursue the SDGs with such an attitude, we might actually go in the opposite direction we want to. If we speak about
might be going toward opposite direction ということです。ですので、この気をつけなければいけないのは、まず
we need to be careful of personal as well as collective egoism, either at the government level or at other levels. We must remember the need to overcome egoism at all levels. If we're just, mindlessly trying to pursue the goal, it's not enough. We need to have a proper attitude, and we need to change our own perspective and our own approach. We need a sort of religious conversion. We need to have a change of heart and a transformation. It's rather difficult to verbalize this, but Dogen said to study the way of the Buddha is to study the self. That was how Dogen expressed this concept. Normally, the self that we think is not our true self. We need to look at our ecological self. I don't know. The ecological self is actually our true self. We need to realize that. Reverend Phap Kham also spoke about interbeingness of ourself, and basically with the same meaning. This is nothing complicated. We just need to look carefully at the reality of our life, and we will understand it. This is not based on belief or on speculation. For instance, we are walking day to day. When we walk, we will feel pressure back on the soles of our feet. But the pressure we're putting on the ground and the pressure we feel from the ground are the same thing. Neither is the cause and neither is the result. Neither is first, neither is second. The pressure from below and above is the same pressure. The air that comes into our lungs and the lungs that expand with that air are also like two sides of a coin. Our living body is not an abstract construct, but our body that is actually living is inseparable from our environment. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to live at all. Our life is part and parcel of the life around it. This is epitome of interbeing. We need to understand that at the very depths of our bones. And Zazen helps us to experience that. Seated meditation is an actual practice to realize the ecological self and actually authentify, to actually practice and actually prove the existence of this ecological self is the goal of seated meditation. When we adjust our posture, we are realizing harmony with our connection with the earth.
Harmonious connection with the ground. それから呼吸というのは大気ですね。大気とのつながりの調和。
Adjusting our breath helps us to achieve harmony with the air.
Meditation is exploration into the harmonious connection with the air ということになります。だから聴診は、
adjusting the heart is achieving a harmonious connection with our 6 sense faculties.
Harmonious connection with 6 sensory organs, 6 sensory inputs ということになります。で、それをここで態度っていうのが大事なんですね。ここに
And attitude becomes very important here. Here I write about an attitude, the attitude. We need to release, first of all. If we try to do this in our normal state, we will try to forcefully control everything. That is very likely. We must not try to control everything. We need to release the tension from our body and mind.
で、そうすると次に something will happening to you なので何か起こってきますので変化が起きて
Something will happen to you and you need to receive that change in yourself. Thirdly, you need to enjoy the process.
What you are receiving っていう方がいいと思いますが、一応エンジョイにしてきました。それで、こういう表ができます。
And so you get you can summarize it into a table like this.
それからリリーシング。
Posture, breath, and mind are related to releasing, receiving, and enjoying.
Let's try very briefly with my guidance. So find out your meditation posture. 床か椅子の上にちょっと座って、
You can sit either on a chair or on the ground and try to sit as naturally as possible and relax in a relaxed manner.
はい。で、今は目を閉じます。For now, please
We will
close your eyes.
close our eyes.
Free your eyes from the impulse to see everything clearly. まず姿勢からいきます。So first posture. Release your body weight to the ground. 自分の体重を床にすべて預けてみてください。Totally surrender your body weight to the Mother Earth with the trust. Your eyeballs sinking down, shoulder, arms hanging down. Release all unnecessary tension from your body and mind. So enjoy this sense of releasing the burden. この重荷を体から心から手放す快感をエンジョイしてください。The more surrender your body weight to the floor, the more you receive the support from the floor. 体重を預ければ預けただけ床から支えがやってきますので、この支えを借りて上半身をまっすぐする力に活用します。So receive the support from the floor to create uprightness in your upper body. So, and then enjoy the ease of being on the ground, or ease, oneness of yourself and the ground. This sense of groundedness is the basis for our confidence and sense of ease. Out breath is an offering. So cultivate the appropriate attitude when you make offerings. It's a training of the etiquette of offering. 出ていく息は捧げ物ということですので、捧げ物をですね、丁寧に捧げていきます。In breath is a gift. So how are you receiving the gift? Breathing itself is very enjoyable. Out breath, we can enjoy the pleasure of relaxation. In breath, we can enjoy the fresh air, taste of the fresh air. And the gap between in breath and out breath, we can enjoy the quietness. So as for mind, 今のガイドはここの表に書いてあるので、日本語でも時間がないので日本語で言わないようにしますので、 As for mind, relax your six sensory organs: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and brain. Usually we abuse those six sensory organs in the service of the egoistic activities.
通常私たちはエゴの活動のために私たちの6つの感官を悪用します。それをやめます。そしてゆっくりと休むようにします。
The more relaxed the sensory organs becomes, the more sensitive they become. So fully receive whatever comes to those sensory windows as it is, without naming, without conceptualizing. Now you can meet with fresh world emerging, brand new world, moment by moment. You might feel some kind of sense of wonder. So forget about all those instructions and simply enjoy being here and now without any agenda. Lively exchange between you and the environment. This is what it means. Thich Nhat Hanh said, "Breathe, you are alive." Get palms together and make small bow. はい、ありがとうございます。まあ、私はこういう感じで座禅を理解して自分で修行したり、
I've been doing this practice for myself and teaching this practice to others. What I just explained is an analysis of what takes place in Zazen. It is possible to analyze it in this way. But in Zazen, we do not go through these concepts one by one consciously. Zazen is just sitting simply, but it includes all of this. Something Dogen says, by practicing Zazen, everything naturally becomes improved. Something is cultivated in that process, he said. We sit in this way. What is being cultivated? Our true self, our ecological self, is being cultivated through this practice. Not as a mental concept, but as a true feeling, as a true intuition. One of the key words is the paradigm shift of ourselves and the world. What kind of paradigm shift do we need? We have our conventional concept of ourselves and the world, which we may call existentialism, where everything is discrete and separate. We look at the world and ourselves as a collection of discrete entities, but we want to move away from that paradigm towards the paradigm of dependent origination, where connections are central. So a relational approach to understanding is important. This is based on the fundamental concept of dependent co-arising of Buddhism. If we can understand ourselves and the world based on dependent co-arising, then we can take a truly effective approach to achieving the SDGs. If Buddhism has a suggestion to make for the SDGs, it would be this. The issue is he who or she who pursues the SDGs. It was what created the situation that made the SDGs. If we take the same approach as we did in the past to achieve the SDGs, we may not be able to help the situation. We might actually make it worse. We might take various unskillful means to try to solve the problems of the world and only makes the problems worse. We see such tendencies occurring in many places. So we tend to think of the SDGs as something outside of ourselves, as a goal to aim for. And we think that we can remain ourselves and use our own initiative and will to achieve the SDGs. But that can create many serious problems. There are various issues that can occur when we take an egocentric approach to the SDGs. Our approach will end up being partial only. The 17 NGs are all organically interrelated. But if we are very egocentric in the pursuit of the SDGs, we will not be able to look at them organically, and we will be looking at them only partially. And we might become overly forceful and try to move ahead too quickly. And we might unconsciously try to benefit ourselves. Explicitly or implicitly, our actions might actually be motivated by the desire to benefit ourselves, even when we are supposedly trying to save the planet. That is one of the symptoms of an egotistic approach to trying to save the world. We need to be very careful of this. When we think about a Buddhist approach to working on SDGs, we need to cultivate a self that feels that we must pursue the SDGs. There was the teaching of the 7 Buddhas that was common to all the 7 Buddhas. It was to
That's the teaching of Buddha っていうのがありますけど、その中のこの諸悪莫作っていうね、don't do evil っていうに訳されると思いますけど、
the teaching, don't do evil, or shoaku maksa, was understood by our founder, Dogen, was as follows. It was not an order that you must not do evil. Of course, we start as an order to avoid evil, but ultimately we cultivate such of a self that we are no longer able to do evil. Spiritual practice cultivates an individual who is no longer able to do evil. If we try to do something that goes against the SDGs, our body will tell us something is wrong, and it will prevent us from doing such actions. If we continue the Zazen practice and it becomes part of our body and soul, then any action to harm another being or to harm the planet becomes unacceptable to us. We realize, we feel directly that we are causing harm to the other. We no longer feel of the world or others as something outside of us. When we have an ecological sense of self, we no longer distinguish between the self and the other. This is not just a concept, but it is a true feeling that we can actually acquire. There is a step beyond that also. Even any thoughts that would go against the SDGs no longer will arise in our mind if we cultivate a spiritual practice. The Shila or moral precepts of Buddhism should go that far. Finally, I'd like to look at the 4 ways that bodhisattvas embrace living beings. Generosity is very important, and kind speech is also very important.
Beneficial actions.
Beneficial actions, and finally, being in the same boat are the 4 concepts. We really are on the same ship. I mean, Buckminster Fuller spoke of the spaceship Earth. What we do to others eventually will come back to us again. What goes around comes around. Each of us is living, but our life is interconnected. That used to be just a slogan, but now it has become at the beginning it was something that just a few spiritual people said, but now there are more and more people who are able to feel this directly, though maybe only in a negative sense. Under the COVID pandemic and under the ecological crisis and amidst global warming, we are realizing that we are on the same boat. We really need to be fully aware of this. That is very important.
はい、以上ですね。ちょうど時間ですかね。
Has my time finished? Those are the main points I wanted to talk about. I hope it will be of some reference to you.
I hope you will walk on your path with healthy body and mind. Take care of yourself. Thank you. で、いいですか？これで終わります。
May I conclude then? Excuse me.
藤田先生。
Reverend Fujita.
本日は誠にありがとうございます。
Thank you for your wonderful talk.
本当に私どもの
さまざまなお聞きしたいことについて。
You mentioned a lot of the points that we were eager to know about. We are full of a sense of gratitude. If there is time, should we have some question and answers?
お願いいたします。
Could we have some Q&A time then?
If you have any comments or question, please feel free to do so.
If you have a question, please raise your hands and I'll point out. Anyone? どなたかもし質問ございましたらどうぞ遠慮なく質問してあげればと思います。If you have any questions, feel free to ask him. Raise your hands.
I'm afraid if I could make myself understood. Too complicated?
みんな笑顔ですから大丈夫みたいですね。
Everybody is smiling, so I think we are fine.
大丈夫そうですかね。
ネパール。
ネパール、はい。from the...
Hi.
Let's go ahead.
Yes, I'm here. So first of all, Vandana to all the priests here as well as Ven Issho Fujita. So my question is like, in the front there was like one example of the snake and it was related to, I think, compassion or something like that. I was really unclear about that part. Can you please tell that again? I think it was like something snake. At that time, the interpretation was also a little bit off. So, can you explain that part? I think one example related to the snake.
I see. So, your name is Shrijana?
Yeah. Hi.
Thank you for your comment. Yeah, I think you like snakes.
Not really. Not really.
No, in this in this Buddha statement, he used the poison snake as something dangerous. So he often used those metaphors, the sinking boat, or the person with shot by arrow, or poisoned snake. It's ancient people's rhetoric to make a statement more vivid. So we have to understand it's a rhetoric. So we must not take it literally. Do you understand?
Little. I thought like in the history or in the lifetime of the Buddha, when he was meditating, there was one time it was like heavily raining, and at that time one snake helped the Buddha in the meditation by covering him, by not letting him get wet. So I thought it was related to that or not. I was a little bit confused that time.
Yeah. I think yes. Buddha will not. Is not saying that we killed all poisoned the snake. He only wanted to say we should be careful how to deal with the poisoned snake, not so that we will not be bitten by it. So it's not violating the animal rights, I think. Is that right?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for the comments. Anyone else? Already time up? All right.
Hi.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Questions. I think that most of you might have many questions for the Reverend Fujita, but sorry, the time is limited. So now we move on to the next section. So please conclude that, Emerson. Could you send the thank you message for the Reverend Fujita?
はい、本当に時間が次先生にはあられるので、こちらの方で今コントロールさせていただいておりますが、本当にですね、
only limited time. We're sad about that, but we are very moved by your talk.
二個対立ハビトスの話も、
In the first day, we learned about habitus, and yesterday, actually, there was a lecture on the relationship between SDGs and Buddhism by the president of the World Buddhist University. And he spoke that sustainability.
いらっしゃいますね。すみません。サステナビリティというのは、
He said that sustainability is Dharma itself.
そのデベロップメントっていうのは、
Sustainable development is Dhamma development. So we all need to focus on it, he said. This time, we realize that meditation and zazen can be a good way to understand about the environment. This was a very insightful presentation. I feel that your lecture really met the needs of our time. Thank you so much.
I hope to have a time when we meet face to face without any fear. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.
ありがとうございました。
はい、ありがとうございます。失礼します。
Thank you very much. So I will excuse myself now.
では以上をもちまして本日の基調講演を終了させていただきます。
Today's keynote speech.
大変恐縮でございますが、
I'm very sorry to say
一
this,
部で
but
参加されている一般視聴者の皆様におかれましては、本日のプログラムはここまでとなります。
will need to say goodbye now. The program is ending for you.
Zoom 参加者の方は少しお待ちください。
However, the people participating by Zoom are asked to remain online.
はい。それでは、本当に2日前から、金曜日からの本日までの3日間、本当に皆様方どんな刺激を受けましたでしょうか。
What kind of stimulus did you get?
また本日の禅とマインドフルネスの入門体験と、また日常講演だけを受けられた方もいらっしゃるかと思いますが、何か未来に向かって一歩でも前進するような新しい発見はありましたでしょうか。
Were there any new discoveries for you?
特に3日間すべての基調講演プログラムに参加された方はきっと、ご自身の心に大きな飛躍、そしてまた深い洞察のきっかけを発見されたのではないかと思います。谷理事長さんからもどうぞ一言お願いいたします。
May we ask our President Tani to give some comments? I'm Tani, the president of the Japan Buddhist Youth Association. I have a message for the young people who will carry on Buddhism in the future. In the near future, this day, August 22nd of 2021, will be a day to remember as an important turning point in the paradigm shift. We hope that we can have some impact to move the world in that direction. Yes. In this time, under the corona pandemic, we are very glad we were able to hold this seminar online in this manner. It was our first attempt to hold an online conference like this. So I believe there were some inconveniences due to technical issues, etc. But because we were online, we were able to have people from all over the world come together, going across great physical distances. That makes us very happy. We have been trying to find a way to reduce the mental distance between each other and increase our connections. That's an important role of religion. I don't know if the next IBYE meeting will be online like this time, or whether it can be done face-to-face, but we hope the IBYE will continue to be a very valuable gathering. We hope to meet with you at the next IBYE. We really look forward to that. We ask that each of the participants, we thank you, all of the participants, for joining us for these 3 days, and we're looking forward to meeting you at the next opportunity.
それではですね、これで10分間の休憩とさせていただきたいと思います。
We will take a 10-minute intermission now.
And then the simultaneous interpretation service is finished now. Thank you, Thomas.